You're entering Corsi
This
Nation.
is Dr. Jerome Corsi, and today it's Friday. It's June 27th, 2025. Thanks for joining us on CorsiNation.com. You can follow us on X at Corsi Jerome1. You can follow us on Substack, Jerome Corsi, PhD.substack.com. And we're doing Substacks virtually every day. Thanks for taking a look at our website, CorsiNation.com. And we've got a lot of news to report today. First thing I want to start out with is the Zohran Mamdani. We now had to do Barack Hussein Obama, and now we've got to do Zohran Mamdani. Okay, now the first story on this is that New York Democratic Party has gone completely to the left. It's now being run by AOC. The Democratic Party became Communist Party. It's now moved past communism. It's just anti-American. It's a treasonous party. Hates America. Hates everything about America. So now they come up with this. First of all, they moved the primary in New York from September into June. And so instead of getting a pretty good turnout in the New York primary, they get 400,000 people who come and vote. Well, that means we've got a small group. They can rig it, they can control it, they can stack it with all the nutcase AOC followers in New York. And so now they get this beating Cuomo. Of course, Cuomo was himself plagued with sex crime charges, harassing women sexually, which he had to resign over. So it's probably true. But the point is here that the Zohran is suddenly, first of all, it's suddenly Islamophobia now. To watch how the media does these things. Immediately, it's Islamophobia, so you can't criticize him. And what does he want to do? He wants to spend millions on gender change for the children in the schools. He wants to give everything away: $30 an hour for minimum wage, free subways. The poor get everything. Promises, promises, promises. None of which he has any ability to deliver on, all of which will bankrupt New York. But he's going to be a lot Islamic phobia to oppose him, and he's another Barack Obama slick talker, good looking guy who comes on the scene as a nobody, and suddenly the media fawns on him. And there's story after story after story about Zohran. Zohran's going to, like Obama, he's going to part the waves, and he's going to heal the earth, and he's going to walk on the waters. If you remember the messianic approach that they used with Obama, that he was our great savior. Well, he was a great savior, all right. He divided the country into much more of a racial hatred. He brought on his communism, and it was the prelude to woke, opened the borders, reduced the military, destroyed the country in every possible way he could destroy it, hated America, just like this guy hates America. So if we're going to go the way of Great Britain and let these Muslims run our country, we're done. Okay, now these Muslims do not assimilate. They're not gonna love America. They're gonna hate America, and they want to destroy America. So we're getting here a good presentation. This Brianna Morello posted on right on cue. You're Islamophobic if you don't want Mandami leading New York with the same failed ideology that's rooted in the same failed country he comes from. Okay, so right-wing influencers respond to Mandami with anti-Islam attacks. MAGA spirals into ugly Islamophobia, says The Independent, after his win. Oh, yeah, and Axios. MAGA erupts with Islamic. So this is another scripted CIA, completely BS, mainstream media echo chamber crap. And it's now apparent. We see the technique. We understand the mainstream media is completely controlled. So the Hill ought to go out of business. Axios ought to go out of business. Politico ought to be not funded anymore from contracts from US aid. Once we can shut down their money, these people will go away. Once we can close down the CIA, cut off its money, it's a dangerous organization. It killed Jack Kennedy. And my book on that, the final analysis, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the final analysis shows Kennedy was shot twice from the front. The X-rays make that abundantly clear. And so we've been lied to for over 60 years now by the CIA about Jack Kennedy and about everything else. So it's suddenly Islamophobic to oppose Mandami. Okay, that's complete BS. And if New York elects Mandami, New York is finished as a major city. People will flee out of the city in droves. The tax base will deteriorate. They'll want federal money to bail them out. And like California, we ought to tell them, tough luck, go bankrupt. New York City going bankrupt is only ever a step or two away. The city is hard to manage, even when Giuliani was managing it with responsible management. Let the Democrats do it, and it's a complete disaster. Now, my solution is that Eric Adams ought to decide he's going to run as a Republican. And you get this Chris Sleva, who is the guardian angel, and give him a position in the White House. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to have it. And therefore, you can run Eric Adams as a Republican with the support of Trump and crush this Mandami. Okay. And, if you can't even say his name, you can't even criticize the guy. Okay. This is ridiculous. And the Democrats are doing exactly what they did against Bernie Sanders with Hillary. They picked who they want and they're rigging the election to get it. And this one, they'll cheat and steal and they'll do everything they can to bend the rules because the AOC is now in charge of the Democratic Party. That means the Democratic Party has just committed suicide. The Democratic Party is done. If they're going to now support, MS-13 from being deported, which they do, support the Venezuelan gangs which are terrorizing people in Colorado, support Palestinians against Israel, and cheer the Ayatollah against the United States. And that's going to be my next story here. The Democratic Party is finished. It's a hate America party. And we're going to have to start now going into the Russian collusion and start investigating and start prosecuting and criminally indicting not only Christopher Wray, who's going to be indicted, who's now recommended for criminal prosecution over his refusal to release a report that was in the FBI, a credible report that the 2020 election had been rigged and the computers penetrated by the communist Chinese. Now, that story has been produced from within the FBI by Kash Patel and supports where Donald Trump is going with the election integrity issue in God's Five Stones. We've been working on this with Peter Tickton for a long time. Peter Tickton is President Trump's attorney. And we're going to get an executive order as commander-in-chief where Donald Trump mandates that we have all these states are riddled with duplicate votes, which can be used in mail-in ballot schemes. The only reason the battleground states reported on election night for Donald Trump in 2024 was we would have caught them if they had stopped counting and done what they do with the algorithms, produce all the mail-in ballots they need to swing the election to Biden, to swing the election to Kamala in 2024. They didn't do it. And so therefore, God's Five Stones and the work we produced was instrumental in making sure the 2024 presidential election wasn't stolen. Okay, now, there's Chris is showing you right now, godsfivestones.com. We're doing another round of fundraising. We're also beginning to develop the deep state's involvement in Act Blue. Act Blue is under criminal investigation. We're going to show in the next couple of weeks. We've already turned over the information to the Department of Justice, and an investigation has been begun over this mortgage lending scheme, and the tie to the Democratic Party basically tied to pedophilia and the border, child sex trade, fentanyl, and the Sinaloa cartel. And that's how the Democratic Party has been funded. And whistleblower Sean Taylor has proven it. We've turned over Sean Taylor's information to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice will quickly expand the investigation on Deep Blue from identity theft of using people's identity to make contributions to Democratic candidates with all the money they've had, all this dark money, which is really coming from Biden opening up the border. We're going to explain this to the American people in simple terms that you can understand. but it is a deep evil scheme. And the Democratic Party has gone satanic. That's why we're featuring two things on Corsi Nation. We're featuring the work of Mike McCormick, who was former stenographer for Biden for years, and he witnessed the deal put together by the Vatican with Biden and with Honduras to open the borders. We reported on that, and take a look at, Chris is showing you now, we've got all the material there on Mike McCormick, and also material from Craig Lund on Silicon Satan, okay, which is his novel. And this all is about the Democrat. And there's many of the videos we've done are all archived. You can listen to the various videos we've done. They're all archived right there on the main page of CorsiNation.com. And Chris is showing exactly how to navigate it. They're right there. All right, now I want to turn to another story about Iran, because it's very, very clear that we are seeing in Iran, this is a story in Revolver about this Aaron Burnett, who might as well be just an obvious Maoist, anti-Trump hater. CNN's also going to go out of business. Okay, so before the attack on Iran, before the United States decided to do this midnight operation with the B-2s, a very, very impressive display of military power, which the world is impressed. We know that type of a display of military power has never been seen on Earth before. Okay, so the initial story, it just took 5 days for Aaron Burnett to completely, blow the lid off the establishment's anti-Trump war narrative, because she completely reversed course. 5 days ago, she was saying, contradicts everything she's saying right now. The media isn't here to inform us; it's here to manipulate us. Okay, so 5 days ago, Aaron Burnett was in full meltdown over Trump's strategic strike on the Iranian facilities. At first, she said that Iran was years away from building a nuclear weapon. So Trump's military move was not necessary. It was reckless and dangerous. And he didn't go to Congress to get approval. And Trump was risking World War III for no reason. But then, fasting forward to today, now the attack was so tremendously successful and the ceasefire is holding, Aaron Burnett's completely changed her tune. Now she's saying that Iran's nuclear program has only been set back a few months. Okay, well, if they were years away from a bomb 5 days ago, how can the nuclear program have only been set back a few months, as if they were close to making a bomb? So which was it? Are they years away from making a nuke, or are they only 5 months of delay? It's not a big deal. The attack wasn't successful. This is a story on Revolver, and I've just been basically reading from the story because I think it outlines it extremely well. Okay, so CNN ratings now are lower than, this is what they're saying here at Revolver, are lower than a gas station bathroom floor, tied to their best spin. That they're saying now that Trump's ceasefire is not working. It's all fake news. Okay, so you're getting nothing here but lies. Okay, and CNN is just government propaganda. Listen, if you want your mind rotted, listen to what they have to say, because it's all just Trump hatred, pure and simple. Okay, I'm doing one more story. I want Chris to start commenting. We'll have a discussion about this. But the next story I want to cover has to do with basically let's go. Yes, I want to cover this story here on American greatness. This is a story, about this Victor Davis Hansen. And Victor Davis Hansen is saying, he starts out by saying, and this is an American greatness. His first sentence is, it's hard even to digest the incredible train of events of the last few days in the Middle East. He said Iran's been reduced to an anemic performance art missile attack on our base in Qatar when they fired a few missiles over and told us they were coming. So we just have to do this to appease our people. Okay, and so it's a terrified regime, desperate for a ceasefire. And what they are demonstrating to the world is they're coming out of their bunkers now. And of course, our Supreme Leader Khamenei said, "Oh well, we won this war." Yeah, right. I mean, Baghdad Bob for sure. And you know, Iran had to we had to, we got permission from Israel to fly into the Iranian airspace because Israel controlled the airspace over Iran. Okay, so uh, what Victor Hansen is saying here is that Trump put a pot of water on the stove, told Iran to jump in, put the lid over them, smiled, and turned up the heat, and now he's going to let them stew. And the theocracy is now going to have to explain this humiliated military, all the decapitated, killed scientists, all this killed by Israel, who had penetrated into the inner circles of the Revolutionary Guard, and so the population has got to be shocked, and they're going to turn furious pretty soon, especially when there's no food to eat. So for all this regimes, Mark Davis Hansen is writing for all the regimes, blood curdling rhetoric, apocalyptic threats against Israel, goose stepping thugs, shiny new missiles on parade ended in less than nothing. $1 trillion and 5 decades worth of missiles and centrifuges are now up in smoke. Well, they are a bunch of rubble. The most hated regime in the world uh, crawled into the boiling pot because it looked around in vain for someone to void Trump's ultimatum for a cease and desist. But no one, Russia did not help them. China did not help them. Even the Obama carry couldn't help them, despite sending them cargo planes full of cash. Okay, so I think you're seeing in the Middle East a final exposure of the rot that was Obama carry. And I was on a podcast last night and reminded about when I wrote Abomination, how I said that Obama was basically a Muslim, raised as a Muslim. He hated America. He was raised by Frank Marshall Davis to be a communist, and his campaign was all a lie. That book, Abomination, was a #1 New York Times bestseller, which the left hated. So subsequently, even Fox won't have authors on anymore. They can't stand books. When I first was writing books 20 years ago, I had got on TV and had #1 bestsellers. Now the books are completely ignored because no one wants you to read or know anything about it. They just want you to listen to Aaron Burnett on CNN and sit in front of the television like you would in George Orwell novel and listen to Big Brother lie to you about who are our current enemies. Chris, come on. I mean, this is what we're seeing here. I think is the not only the destruction of Iran, the terror masters in the Middle East, but also the complete exposure of the bankruptcy of the American left, which is now an anti-American treasonous party. And I think there should be criminal investigations of people for treason, including Brennan, who headed the CIA, Clapper, all these people who lied to Congress as intelligence agencies. I think we should do an investigation of Russian collusion. Now it's time for the prosecutors, Weissman and the others, to be hunted down because they knew they were lying. They did not investigate. I was before them. They wanted to put me in jail. I wouldn't take their plea deal, and they didn't indict me. But they're telling me that Russia stole the Democratic Party email. I said, no, they didn't. I said, I can prove to you they didn't. They, Dr. Corsi, we're not interested in your theories. No, they had the CIA lying. They prefer to take the CIA lying because it was CIA, and they wouldn't look at truth or reality. From a computer science point of view, it was impossible, given the timestamps on the theft that occurred in the Democratic computers. But of course, the computers went into the deep hole, which is where Seth Ridge's laptop is. And we don't have these same deep hole that Jeffrey Epstein's materials are in. We're not going to be shown the satanic nature of the pedophilia. They don't want to talk about how this entire rot at the top in America and Great Britain and the world are into having sex with children. These are the leaders we've had, and it's what we get in Silicon Valley. It's why the stories we have from Mike McCormick and from Craig Lund featured on the website are so important. Um, Chris, you want to come on? Let's have a little discussion about this. What do you think?
The
What do you think about
investigation.
Zohran, our
Well,
new
okay.
leftist hero?
All right, let's go to Zoran. He's being now propped up by the left, the far left, thinking, well, this is our experiment. We want to see which direction the party is going to go in. Chicago voted for Mayor Johnson. Los Angeles would probably vote for Mayor Bass again just because she has a D next to her name and she's a radical, no matter what. Kamala Harris might even become governor of California. So perhaps the future, again, this is what they're thinking. The future of the party may be to go as far to the left as possible and still call anybody to the right of them fascists. That's how they gain power. Promise the free candy and fine trinkets for absolutely no work or effort. And you have that, what was it, the fourth generation of a society? What was it? The society. This is the end of a society. America's facing its 250th anniversary. And many say, again, many wise people have said societies like this last about that long because people get weaker and weaker if they don't know any hardship, or if they get a little more spoiled and they expect or coddled, if you will, and expect more things for free. And you have people like Zohran Mamdani who promise all the free stuff that they think they're entitled to. They figured, hey, doesn't matter who pays for it. I'm not going to pay for it. Let's just vote for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of a name is Zoran? What does that mean? In it
Didn't Anthony Quinn play him in some kind of
was
play?
so it was like Barack.
Yes.
We had a
Well,
Barack coming on, and so suddenly everybody likes Barack.
well,
You
Barack
remember
is fine. The Hussein part kind of bothered me a little.
Hussein Park? You just remember when Barack came in, and you go into a bookstore, and there was all this Barack Obama paraphernalia, the calendar of Barack Obama, and the books about Barack Obama, and the cards and the games. I mean, everything was Barack Obama.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
now you won't find anything Barack Obama because people are realizing what a train wreck he was.
And he's old news anyway to them. Here's another interesting question though. It was Zohran Mamdani really the best the Democrats had to offer? If you
Yes.
look down that slate of candidates for mayor of New York City, it's weak. It was weak. Andrew Cuomo is a disgraced politician in and of himself. He didn't even bother. He thought he was too good for a ground game. He thought he was too good to go out in the streets and shake hands and meet people like Mamdani did. And let's face it, give him some credit for that. He went to the streets. But after that, Brad Lander, who only made a name for himself because he got himself arrested helping some illegals out, and that didn't get him anywhere. It got him from 1% to 10%. Fine, or 11%. Then you have Scott Stringer, the milk toast who tried to run 4 years ago. This is not a good slate of candidates.
No, and in fact, I'm sure Zoran went out just like for a photo op. This guy looks to me like he's a photo op. He's got the
Oh,
hair and the
oh, he
beard.
did. He did.
He's a photo op.
But what he did do that Andrew Cuomo thought he was too good to do was knock on doors. He went
I-
down,
for-
shake
As
hands
long
with
as
people. Right.
as long as the press was there with cameras, he knocked on a few
Hey,
doors.
I'm with you there. I understand. And look how he got. You know how he got famous, right? Where he upped his profile. He
How?
was at the Newark ICE protest, screaming and yelling while what that I always forget her. LaMonica McKennett was swatting around trying to beat up ICE agents. The
Yes,
the
he was
he
the
was
First
yeah,
Amendment. You believe in the First Amendment?
right.
Yeah.
He was yep.
I mean, this is a guy who would suppress the First Amendment in his first 20 seconds in office.
Yeah, he would. That's a,
You
yeah.
know?
But
So
this, yeah,
it's
but
becoming. If it wasn't so evil and sad, it would be pathetic. It would be a comedy show.
true.
The Democrats have now become a caricature of themselves. They're running nutcases.
Hey,
They're mouthing things that are insanity. Let's sexually mutilate our children. Well, there's a good idea. You know, let's quit using hydrocarbon fuels. They've dropped that one, haven't they?
well, you want to know how funny this guy is? There was a video. There's a news package being floated around about him faking his accents and saying, "Hey, that's how I do it." And he's so phony that when he was a rapper, Well, it was mom produced the video, I believe, or videos, I believe.
Oh, is he a rapper, Zohran?
He was a rapper, and he, of course, used auto-tune. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, good.
The mark of the talentless.
Uh, okay, let's move on to a couple more stories. This one I like a lot. That big tech got a wake up call. So all the former antitrust officials on the pay of Google, Democrats, have all opposed any antitrust against Google. But you're now having the Trump appointees in the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and what they're doing is going to go after Google and break it up. I think Trump is tired of the quashing of any views except other that the Democratic Party approves, the censorship, and we're going to get some new rules in about how the internet is going to be run, how the internet is going to be open access for a variety of opinions, not just the CIA approved anti-American opinions. So I think the antitrust action and the investigation of Google and the breakup of Google will be a breath of fresh air. And if Google loses its search engine, Google is dead in the water. And if Google continues with its arrogance and continues to uh, censor the way it's censoring, same with YouTube. All these companies, I think, are in for a wakening up when they realize that there is a new sheriff in town, and they're not going to be fed with federal money. And by the way, all the federal agencies that are all the federal funding of these NGOs is making the left NGOs cry and scream. All their fact checking and anti uh, border security and all these other communist NGOs are getting defunded, and it can't happen fast enough. Okay, so this whole move on looking at breaking up big tech is just beginning, and the new head of the FTC is, I think, going to, his name is Mark Meador, Meador, and he is laying out a whole vision for a mega antitrust document and doctrine, which is very simple, saying big is bad. Concentrated power in corporate entities can be just as dangerous as big government. And it's time, basically, this is what is an article in American Greatness by John Pierce, saying it is time that conservatives stop whitewashing the fact that these big tech companies are good. Between Amazon and American Greatness and all these other giants, we get especially with the ones in media and in the search engine business, we get an ideological bent to it, which is anti-American, hate America, destroy America. These people would support Iran. They support the Palestinians in Gaza. They support Hamas. They have students running around with Hamas flags. I mean, I think enough is enough. And I think the American people are saying we're sick and tired of this nonsense. Okay, and the whole idea that they can get away with this as much as anytime they want to get away with it is ridiculous. All right, now the narrative about the Iran moving enriched uranium is another narrative that's out there. The two narratives were that we didn't do very much damage at all, and the truth is we really demolished all of the sites we attacked. And you're seeing that even today, Hezbollah is being attacked by the Israeli Defense Forces attacking Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. We're still cleaning up the Gaza. And in fact, a report in the Times of Israel says that the White House monitoring Iran's nuclear facilities were monitoring all the movements in the days leading up to the strike on the nuclear facilities, and there was no uranium that was actually moved out. Those trucks lining up were not trying to take centrifuges and enriched uranium and move it somewhere else. Now, there's still some debate on this. I'm still getting some of the reports coming from Israel that are suggesting some of the uranium might have been moved out, but only uranium that was enriched up to about 60%. It takes 90% enrichment in order to produce nuclear weapons grade material in the uranium. And that last bit of enrichment is the hardest to achieve. In terms of other stories around today, so we're going into the weekend with Donald Trump having a historic success in the Middle East. The Middle East is fundamentally changing right now. And on the run are the Islamic terrorists, which has to make the Democratic Party be crying crocodile tears. But the American people, I just don't think the Democratic Party is going to survive. And I don't think it's going to make any difference. They're just committing suicide. Let AOC go ahead and run it. Trump is going to try again another move to remove non-citizens from the census, so we don't have the Democrats pack the demographic warfare, changing the composition of the country by opening the borders, let the demography of the country change, so it can go to a new world order, control and domination by the self-appointed elite. And CNN is also now reporting that Trump is going to ease sanctions on Iran and assist with a nuclear enrichment program. I don't think so. I mean, CNN can't decide what's the best line to attack Trump. They're flopping around like a fish out of water, not sure what to do. Okay, and another good story that I found, there's quite a few. This again is another article by Victor Davis Hansen, which I guess it's the same article, but he's basically saying that in the end, everyone hated the Iranian theocracy. And I think the Iranian people, now that the mullahs are coming out of their caves, I think they're going to face a very hostile population. And I think that the next story coming out of Iran could well be that the people rise up against these mullahs, and they're the ones who get hanged. That has been 20 years in the making. Actually, it goes back to 1979. Ayatollah Khomeini came in and completely disrupted Iran and made it a rigid Islamic republic that represses women, sexually mutilates young girls so they'll never have an orgasm. Brutal, brutal religion, and one that's never gone through a reformation. I do want to end by completely continuing to stress that our sponsors, please get in touch with Swiss America. You need to have some gold. Swiss American can help you get a self-directed IRA and set it up according to the rules. Call Swiss American, get a copy of this free book that I've written about how the coming global crash will create an historic gold rush. And the next thing we're going to face as we get into the fall is the fact that the dollar is insolvent with $37 trillion in debt, which has just come on recent years, this magnitude, and it's crippling. The toll-free number at Swiss America is 1-800-519-6268. 1-800-519-6268. Call them. You'll do yourself a favor. And finally, look at our other sponsor with My Vital C. It's carbon 60, which is a remarkable molecule. It's one of 60 carbon atoms around a nucleus, and the atoms are in a cage structure, which is like a geodesic dome. In fact, these atoms are called fullerenes, after Buckminster Fuller. So do get show Chris, if you would, the My Vital C. There's My Vital C in soluble in olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. I like the avocado oil. I'm sorry, I like the olive oil the best. Olive oil is my favorite. Secondly, they have products for hair, for skin, cats and dogs. I've written a book there, Live Longer and Better. We're going to be featuring this a lot as we move into the next phase with CorsiNation.com. But do look at My Vital C. You'll like the products if you try them. They have antioxidants. I think they're good for mental stimulation, for sleeping. I think they're one of the real miracle products that I think have longevity principles to it. MyVitalC.com. Okay, so wrapping up this Dr. Jerome Corsi, we've had an eventful week, and this week has been historic. We're seeing fundamental changes. I wrote my first book in the Middle East in 2005, Atomic Iran, and we're seeing changes occur now that I was envisioning and writing about. This day would come. I've been writing about this for 20 years. And now it's come, and Iran, I think, is back on its heels. And this is a time not for us to engage in regime change, but for the people of Iran to do it. Dr. Jerome Corsi, and then God always wins. And God's winning here too as the Democratic Party explodes in its madness. It's hysterical, bizarre madness. And God, in the end, always wins. God always wins in the end. God's going to win here too. And I do encourage you to join me in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14 of repenting that we have allowed the world to get to this point. Donald Trump is doing a remarkable job. I think the hand of God is on him. I think God spared his life. That certainly that assassination attempt where he just turned his head at the right second, that had to have been a divine intervention. That was remarkable that he survived that. And we're now on the amend. Will take time. The evil and the deep-rootedness of the evil in this country is massive. But in the end, God always wins, and God is going to win here too. Thank you for joining us at CorsiNation.com. We'll be back next week. God bless.